So tonight I'm gonna read an article here, Blood Spots and Eggs. This is from the Journal of Halacha and Contemporary Society, fall of 2000. So it's an old article, but something that we need to pay attention to. So this is Rabbi Michael, I think you pronounce this Brody, maybe, Broyde. Introduction. Farming questions are among the most interesting in modern Jewish law in America because we have grown farther and farther away from the reality of the farm, and thus we find keeping a firm grasp on the reality to be exceedingly difficult. Such is clearly true in the case of egg production, which has changed considerably in the last 20 years. So in this case, this would be the last 45 years. And in the last century, of course. They've changed drastically in the last century. Okay, so chicken farms. Until relatively recently, chicken eggs were laid on a farm that was an integrated farm. Besides chickens, there were other animals on the farm, and birds, both kosher and not, were part of the farm environment. Three distinctly different activities would occur on a farm with the chickens. Chickens would lay eggs, which the farmer intended to sell as table eggs. Chickens would lay eggs that would hatch to produce chicks. Chickens would be raised to be slaughtered for their meat. The same chickens frequently would be used for all three activities, with short-term economic needs determining whether any particular egg would be sold as a table egg or hatched, and when any given chicken might be slaughtered. About a century ago, chicken farms became common. On a chicken farm, only chickens were raised and all other animals were excluded. In the last 20 years, so 45 from this article, this trend of farm specialization has continued even more drastically. In America since 1970, separate and distinct chicken farms exist to produce only table eggs. No chickens are raised on this farm for slaughter and no chickens are hatched. Thus, unlike the chicken farms of even 50 years ago, these hen coops have absolutely no roosters on the farm at all, and sometimes will have as many as 1 million hens producing eggs 7 days a week throughout the year. The feed given these hens and the lighting conditions are uniquely suited to egg production. So, B. Blood spots in eggs. In Talmudic times, blood spots occurred in eggs because of two distinctly different reasons. The first was that the egg had been fertilized and a chicken embryo was in formation. The second was that a tissue irregularly in the hen caused a small amount of blood to be deposited in the egg. In America in modern times, since there are no roosters in the egg-laying coop, only the latter occurs, and incidence of that is relatively low. Markedly less than 1% of all eggs will have a blood spot. In addition, United States government regulations require that grade A and grade AA table eggs be checked for blood spots in a process commonly referred to as candling, although it is now done with an infrared light. Before eggs can be sold to the consumer as grade A or AA, thus the incidence of blood spotting in grade A or AA table eggs is very, very small in the United States, perhaps as low as 1 in 1,000. Eggs with blood spots or other deformities are marketed as grade B eggs, which are then sold to commercial manufacturing plants to be used as ingredient in manufactured items. The incidence of blood spotting in grade B eggs varies based on a number of factors and is not regulated by the government. Neither grade A nor grade AA eggs are ever produced in a chicken coop with roosters present, and it is improper to take an egg intended for hatching and sell it as a table egg. It is also very difficult to do, as chicken hatching farms are not licensed to sell eggs commercially to the public. Such eggs would never be found in a supermarket as grade A or AA eggs. Although if one buys eggs from a roadside stand or a farmer's market, such eggs might be included in the eggs sold. Blood spots in the classical halacha. So section A, blood spots in eggs that might be fertilized. The Talmud addresses the question of blood spots in eggs a number of different ways, and the Rishonim disagree on the exact contours of the halacha. Most Rishonim adopt the view that any blood in an egg that is present because of the fertilization process and and is the result of the byproduct of such, makes it biblically prohibited to eat the whole egg. These same Rishonim generally agree that all other blood in an egg is rabbinically prohibited to eat, although some Rishonim assert that there are places in an egg where blood can be such that it is permitted to eat the egg and the blood spot too. A small group of Rishonim assert that it is never a biblical violation to eat blood in an egg, and that Torah law is violated only if one eats an egg after the embryo actually begins to form. There is an intricate literature about how to determine what type of blood spot is a biblical prohibition, which is a rabbinic prohibition. This distinction is of significant halachic importance, as in cases where the blood spot resulted from fertilization, the whole egg must be discarded. Whereas when the blood spot is merely a result of a tissue formation accident in the hen, the egg spot must be removed, but the rest of the egg may be eaten. There are no less than 5 views found in the Rishonim and among the commentaries on the Shulchan Aruch as to when a blood spot causes the whole egg to become unkosher, when just the blood spot needs to be removed, or when just the blood spot plus the surrounding area need to be discarded. These opinions focus on where the spot is located, in the yolk, on the yolk, in both the yolk and the albumin, in just the albumin, or floating clear, and there is no absolute consensus as to what the halacha is. Because of the complexity of these rules, and from the fact that an error can easily lead to one's eating an egg which is prohibited according to Torah law, Rabbi Moshe Eiserlis, so the Ramah, states, "From this derives the common custom in our community to prohibit all eggs with blood spots, and not to distinguish between blood spots in the yolk or in the albumin, and this has always been the practice." So, however, the Ramah notes that this custom is limited to cases where the egg has not yet been added to a food mixture. Once the egg is added to a mixture, there are many more grounds to be lenient. The Ramah permits the Ramah permits the food stuff to be used if an egg with a blood spot is mixed into a food product. So section B, it says blood spots from coops with only hens in the halacha. All of the above discussion was applicable in the case where the blood spot in an egg might derive from a fertilized egg, and there is a possibility of violating a Torah prohibition by eating such an egg. However, Shulchan Aruch states clearly that eggs from a coop where there are no roosters may be eaten, even if the hen sat on the eggs for many days, so as long as one removes the blood spot. Indeed, some Rishonim are of the view that when one has an egg with a blood spot from a hen that has been separated from a rooster, even the blood spot may be eaten, although the normative halacha appears to reject this view. Since table eggs in the United States never have blood spots that are the result of the fertilization process, there is a consensus among the halachic authorities of our day that there is no obligation or even custom to throw out the whole egg when one sees a blood spot. Rabbi Ovadia Yosef notes that the custom is to simply remove the blood spot and eat the egg. Rabbi Moshe Feinstein agrees that one may simply remove the blood spot and eat the whole egg, as does Dayan Yaakov Wise. In cases where the blood spot from such an egg is mixed in with other food products, the food is kosher and the utensils do not need to be made kosher again. Notwithstanding the halachic possibility of removing only the blood spot, most people simply find it too taxing or messy to actually remove just the blood spot when they see one, and thus simply throw out the whole egg rather than engage in the effort needed to remove a small portion of an egg and keep the rest of the egg. Checking eggs for blood spots in America. Even in pre-modern farms, halacha did not require that one check eggs for blood spots before eating them. Shulchan Aruch states that one does not even have to check eggs generally, and the one can eat toasted eggs even though one cannot check them. However, the Ramah adds that one does not have to check eggs to see if they have blood spot, as one relies on the fact that most eggs do not. Nonetheless, people have the custom to be strict and check the eggs for blood spots when cooking during the day. The reason for this custom is obvious. First, if one does not check an egg for a blood spot, and one sees the blood spot during the cooking process or even later, one might have to discard all the food. Second, one might miss a blood spot and eat food which is prohibited to eat. The crucial question is whether the halachic custom to check eggs must still be observed, or whether it is possible to be lenient on this matter and simply not check any eggs generally. The answer to this question is not simple. It might be that one does not have to check eggs for blood spots, but when one is seen, it is still required to remove it according to Jewish law. Thus, it is prudent to check eggs before placing them in a situation where it is difficult to remove the blood spot. Thus, it is possible to conclude that Jewish law does not require that one check eggs for blood spots prior to their use if one purchases grade A or AA eggs from a supermarket in America, although there is a minhag, a custom, to check eggs, and one who checks for such eggs is in the category of hamachmir tavo alav baracha, a pious conduct for which one is blessed for being strict. No less than 6 different reasons can be provided to justify the practice of not checking eggs prior to using them. 1. The United States Department of Agriculture already requires that all eggs be checked for blood spots before they can be sold in the supermarket as grade A or AA eggs. There was never a custom to check twice for blood spots. So, number 2, there are virtually never blood spots found in eggs sold in supermarkets in America that are a result of fertilization. Thus, no biblical violation is ever present, even if there is a blood spot in the egg. The custom to check all eggs was limited to a society where not checking might lead to a Torah violation. Number 3, there never was a custom to check for blood spots when all eggs derived from hens raised alone, in which case some authorities rule that even the blood spot itself can be eaten. Number 4, the incidence of blood spots in grade A or AA eggs sold in the supermarket is less than 1 in 1,000, and generally one does not have to check for very infrequent rabbinic prohibitions. Number 5, halacha never required that one check for blood spots. It was a custom, and the custom itself did not apply when it was difficult to check, such as at night. Nowadays, given the way we cook, checking is more difficult in a variety of settings. And number 6, if there is a blood spot in the egg, one will generally see it even after the egg has been opened, and one can remove the blood spot then. This approach is fully consistent with other cases found in halacha where there once was a custom to check, and changes in reality have diminished or even removed the obligation to check. Indeed, it is possible that future generations in agricultural reality will require a change in the practices found in kosher homes on other matters, or even this matter. The common practice in commercial settings, where large numbers of eggs are used and checking is expensive but not impossible, is not to have a Jew check even grade B eggs, which have a marked higher incidence of blood spotting than grade A or AA eggs. This is even more so true given the fact that once a blood-spotted egg derived from a chicken coop with only hens is actually mixed with other foodstuff, all the food, as well as the utensils, are permitted to be used. Such nullification is commonly relied on in the commercial setting, as it would be extremely expensive to check every egg. However, even though halacha does not require that one check every grade A or AA egg purchased in the supermarket prior to using it, there might be prudent reasons why a person might choose to do so, and this explains the common practice of checking eggs found in many Ashkenazi homes. Most significantly, if one sees a blood spot, one must remove it, and it is easier to remove a blood spot prior to adding the egg to food than afterwards. So too, a person who purchases brown eggs, free-range eggs, organic eggs, or eggs sold at a farmer's market has to check those eggs, and thus it might simply be easier to check all eggs than to monitor what type of egg one is using at any given time. And finally, one who frequently travels abroad, where the economic conditions relating to egg farming might be different, will certainly have to check eggs before using them, and might find it easier to simply check all eggs.